Hey guys, welcome back to the last part of our message series. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably all heard that we were on a mission trip last week, at least some of us. And I just want to share some things that we did on our trip real quick. So, first we were cleaning out some storm drains. So we had a lot of fun with that. It was actually kind of frustrating because they're all so clean this year. So, yeah. It got some of us frustrated. Anyways, we met some cool people along the way. Like this guy, we saw him again on Thursday, I believe, at another thing that we're doing, which is cool because we invited him to it. And another thing we did was we did a kids camp. So what we did there, we pretty much did whatever they told us to do. We tried to embody that whatever attitude, and we played with the kids. We helped them learn a little bit. We did anything from bracelet making, basketball, kickball. Kickball's wild. Some people got really frustrated. You got frustrated, Trent. Yeah. We also did sneak attack Uno. Ben plays sneak attack Uno with someone, which is basically the kid can play any card, as many cards as you want at any time. So it was really hard for Ben. He also 1v1 someone in basketball, both of which he got destroyed. And we also did a community meal. And so, so we would pretty much just go hand out flyers, and we'd have like a banquet. We had like a party in the green area between some houses. And fun fact, when we were handing out the flyers, I was with the Milligans, and it just started pouring down rain. So everyone went to the car, and meanwhile, Milligans and I, we decided, hey, no one's going to be out while it's raining, so we went and visited a cemetery, and we got locked in. It was a fun time. We found our way out, but yeah, it was just very memorable. And and not pictured, we went to a laundromat, and we basically paid for people's laundry, and it was really cool. We got to have some good conversations with people. We also did something similar at coffee shop, and we would just start conversations with people there, and all with the intent of spreading the gospel. We would also hand out backpacks and lunches to people living on the streets. And anyways, the mission trip, it was a great experience, eye-opening for everyone, and we got to serve many people. And in fact, while we're over there, I realized that there are 3 principles that are really crucial to Christian service. But before we dive in, I want to make sure we're all on the same page with what I'm talking about when I say Christian service. So, what is Christian service? Christian service is when we adopt principles of service and evangelism, big word. And service is going out of your way to put others ahead of you. So that can be anything from like picking up chairs, holding doors for people, basic stuff, boring stuff. And another thing, evangelism, which is communicating the gospel to other people. So that's obviously what we're doing in the laundromat, the coffee shop, all that stuff. All that good stuff. And Christian service is service with the goal of spreading the gospel. And in Christian service, it's important to say that it can be in both the word and deed. We can spread the gospel through both what we say, what we do, and how we live. And we can also have service without evangelism and evangelism without service. And Christian service is just a word I made up, so it's just a combination of the two. So it's what we should be striving to do as Christians when we serve people. So anyways, back to these 3 principles. So over the trip, I observed stuff that maybe I wasn't too great in. Some stuff that I certainly tried to pay attention to over the trip, and I'm sure a lot of us did too, subconsciously, or consciously, I don't know. But anyways, we must play to our strengths, we must leave our comfort zone, and we must serve selflessly. So first, we must play to our strengths. And something that really, it was just really cool. Last week on Sunday, we went to a church called Refuge Church over there, and it was really cool because it was in a voodoo healing center. And it was just very interesting how we're just in a place of spiritual darkness and just a community of Christ-loving people over there. But anyways, for those who are in NOLA, this is the part where I'm going to completely rip off Justin's message, but in 5 minutes, instead of like an hour and a half, 5 hours between them. So in the story, Andrew and Philip can be seen scrambling, looking for a way to feed 5,000 people. Well, more likely 20,000 people because they only count the men for some reason. And anyways, Philip tried to find a practical solution while Andrew immediately went to look for food. And eventually, Andrew comes forward with a young boy who has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Now, this isn't like, hey, Jesus, use this boy. This is, oh, we only have this guy. We only have this little kid with his lunch. There's no way we can feed all these people. But anyways, Jesus used this kid's lunch to feed about 20,000 people, even when the apostles didn't really trust that he could do it. For I don't know why, but that happened. And anyways, the kid presented his basket of food, which is about 5 loaves of bread, 2 fish, and Jesus made it multiply and benefit all those people. So, how does this apply to us? So all of us have strengths, and I would like to say that most of us use them without the help of the Holy Spirit. And if we do this, we can only make so much of an impact. And for example, if the boy split his 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish equally between 5,000 people, more likely 20,000 people, it would likely not do anything to satisfy anyone's hunger. At most, he could have probably fed 1 or 2 people, and this is a kid, so I'm imagining it's like a small little Happy Meal. So probably not even 1 person. So what can we do about this? What can we learn from this? So what I got from this is we can present our own basket of gifts and strengths to God, just like that boy presented his basket to Jesus to use. So we need to give up our basket of strengths and pray that God uses them in miraculous ways. And from experience from this mission trip, I can tell you for sure that it will happen. Sure, we use our basket in our everyday lives, but so did that kid. He was about to enjoy his lunch like he usually did. Like I said, if he wished, he could have maybe fed 1 other person. But when he gave his basket to Jesus, the food was multiplied and reached so many people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd say the apostles also used their spiritual gifts. Like, for example, Philip was very analytical, and he tried to figure out a practical way to feed everyone. And Andrew, he just went out and did it. He's more impulsive, I think. And but for some reason, none of them turned to Jesus, which is weird because Jesus has already performed miracles in front of them. I don't know why they didn't trust him. But anyways, so often I can find myself being like Philip and Andrew, just not trusting that God can use my gifts to their full ability. So, like, I always try to stick it out on my own, and it never works for me, just as like it never worked for them. So, I urge you guys, stop using your strengths on your own. Pray that God will use them, and let yourself become His hands and feet. So, bottom line, our gifts become so much more powerful when we present them to God for Him to use. And next, we really must get out of our comfort zones. There are many people in Scripture that were called to step out of their comfort zones, and let me just give you a few examples. So, for example, Noah was ridiculed for building the ark. It probably took him years to build the ark, and according to Genesis, he was the only righteous person at the time. So I can only imagine Noah being ridiculed and persecuted every day. Like, I mean, these people never saw rain, and he was probably building a boat in the middle of like a country, like near no water. So, yeah, he was probably ridiculed, but he did it anyways. And Moses was a poor speaker, but spoke to Pharaoh, and he eventually freed a whole nation. And like, he said he was a poor speaker, and he tried to kind of duck responsibility and get out of whatever God is calling him to do. And God pretty much said, I don't care, you're my person, and you're going to do this. And he did. He ended up leading an entire country as well as freeing them. And next, the apostles were called to leave their families, change their entire lifestyle, and follow Jesus. And after Jesus went up to heaven, they spread the gospel in foreign lands. They were run out of town, beaten, and some of them were even killed. Most of them were killed. And they still did it because they were called to by God. Now this brings us to the biggest example. Finally, Jesus died for us on the cross. He went way out of his comfort zone for us, I think. I'd say he went out of his comfort zone when he decided to give up his divine privilege in heaven to come down to earth to kind of fix his people. He asked God to take this responsibility from him, but never, like, he still did it, even though he didn't want to, because God said, no, you need to follow through with this. And he was sweating blood the night before because he knew what would happen. And I'd say the most ultimate step out of his comfort zone was when he took on all of the sins of humanity and he was separated from God for a time to pay for them. Like, that is insane to me. And it kind of puts into perspective. Are we stepping out of our own comfort zone? Like, I mean, all those people did, and they did it in insane ways. And sometimes we struggle with the simplest things. And some people are really comfortable with talking to strangers. Others are really comfortable with, like, cleaning storm drains. I like cleaning storm drains. And we aren't always going to be called to do the things we want to do. Like, I'm not going to lie, on the mission trip, I got really anxious talking to some people, but I still try my best to do it anyways, because I just felt a calling to do it. So when we step out of our comfort zone, I would say we're stepping out of the comfort zone and into faith, trusting that God will provide what we need. So if any of you are struggling to step out of your comfort zone, please just pray about it. Trust that God will provide you what you need, and it will happen. That's something that I was certainly praying for the entire trip, and it happened. It definitely took some steps out of my comfort zone because I trusted that God was on my side. I trusted that I would be used as, a vessel for God. And I saw this happen with many other people in the mission trip. Now, I'm not going to give names, but I want to give a few examples. I mean, I'm sure nobody would really want me saying their names if I didn't go and talk to them first. But anyways, there were some people on our trip that were really anxious just talking to people. And by the end, I saw just great improvement. Like, one of them even prayed over someone, and that was huge for them. It's very relative what our comfort zone is. Like, stepping way out of our comfort zone, could be praying for someone. Depends on the person. That could be the same as standing in front of a crowd of 10,000 people and talking. It doesn't matter. It's all relative. So just take these steps out of your comfort zone. It doesn't matter how big or small you think they are.